to Colleagues Getting Coffee. Today we are in the glittering West End in London, and we are joined by the even more glittering and fabulous James Hume, who is a West End actor.
Thank you very much.
Hello.
Hello.
Tell me more about you.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm an actor.
You are?
Yes. I studied at the Royal Academy of Music.
Very nice.
In London. I studied musical theatre.
Okay.
That's the main thing, main genre that I do.
Genre, excellent.
Thank you. But actually before that, I didn't take a natural route into acting.
Okay.
I think the natural route is either to just go straight into it or go to a drama school and do an acting course. I didn't do that. I went to a drama school, which was the Royal Central School, Speech and Drama in Swiss Cottage. But I actually did an applied theatre degree.
Okay.
Which is not necessarily, as I say, a normal route into performing. The reason I did that was I went to an open day at Central with all the intentions to go and be an actor and do the acting course and things like that. And it was actually, funny enough, it was the pitch done by this, the head of the course then, who I think is still the head of the course now. And it was, I think, where I was in my life, it was the right course for me at that time, because I really wanted to perform, but something inside me was going, you're not quite ready yet, or this is not your time. And I was battling that at the age of 18, 19 or something like that. And I was going, no, I really want to do it, but something, when you just know, some intuition was going, not right now, excuse me. And so I watched this open day of this course, and it was the applied theatre degree, and I kind of fell in love with it there and then. I felt this is the perfect thing for me right now, because it's a course that kind of covers all bases. You do everything.
Well, it's actually better to kind of learn broadly and then refine.
Yes, and that's kind of what it was. It was a 3-year thing, and in the 3rd year you could kind of more specialise in something. And looking back, they call it the University of Life as well. It was 3 years in London where I just, learned about myself, learned about London, learned about the theatre industry. And that was the best thing, is that the course really opened my eyes to the whole of the industry. It wasn't just about commercial musical theatre or just commercial theatre in itself. It was everything. And over that 3 years, I was teaching in schools, I was creating devised work, I was working with, low-funded theatre companies fighting for their own, and I really saw all over London, and outside as well. And I really saw a real whole picture of this industry that I'm going into. So when I came to do a postgrad in a more specific genre, which I wanted to do, I had this kind of knowledge of that. This is what I want to be doing, but if I'm not doing that at this time, all of this is going on at the same time that I can kind of dip my toe in.
Well, also you just become much more rounded and you make much better choices about what you could do, but you also have a better understanding of other people who maybe work in those sectors too.
And also what it means to put a show on. Yeah. Because at one point I was writing a show, the next minute I was stage managing a show, and I really got to learn about how a production is put together. That's cool. And I think that's a crucial thing. And I correct me if I'm wrong, people who are watching, but I'm pretty sure that kind of main acting courses at various drama schools don't really show that. I might be wrong, but I get the feeling that...
Well, we'll find out.
Yeah, I might be wrong. Please attack me if I'm wrong. But you really see the fundamentals of everything that goes into a production. So now when I'm working on a show or auditioning or anything, I really appreciate the work that goes in.
You are a cog in a machine.
I'm a tiny little part of a huge machine,
So my understanding is, from a little bird I know, that your first, so you're currently in Les Mis.
Yes.
But your first ever show production, you were in Les Mis.
I was, yes.
That's
not a professional version.
That was the first show you ever did? No, a school version.
Well, no, in many ways it was a professional version. No, it wasn't. It was the school's edition at my local school. Yeah. Yeah, it was probably about 12 years ago.
How mad is that?
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. It's like I still have those moments where I go, this is surreal how this happened. And what's more surreal is that I remember when I'd finished the school's edition and I'd kind of caught the theatre bug, I was taken to go and see it here in the same theatre that I'm now doing it in. And I remember watching it and having this kind of surreal, subliminal intuition, saying to myself, yeah, I'll do this at some point.
Amazing.
And it was the first time, and it wasn't in a theatrical or dreamy like way.
Floaty, hippy dippy.
Like, I really want to do that. It was just a kind of knowing of, yeah, I'll do that at some point.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because the business community talk a lot about mantras and affirmations and the law of attraction, but it sort of seems a bit kind of like forced. Like, must make a note in a diary
Yeah.
every day, and you must
Yeah.
whatever. But that's quite nice if it was just sort of an instinctual thing that will happen.
Yeah, and be realistic about it as
Yeah.
well, because there's been a few times, like I remember when I was when I was first year at Central, I lived in Edgware Road, which is very near Baker Street, and I used to walk to Regent's Park sometimes if I had an afternoon off or something like that, and I used to walk every day past the Royal Academy of Music, and it was another one of those. I remember looking up at the building going, I'm going to go there. I just had this weird feeling that, that's, you know, kind of connecting with me. I feel like that's a place I'm going to go. And I ended up going. And there's been jobs that I've had, like this current one, that I knew was going to happen, right down to the part that I was playing. And there's been auditions come up where I've kind of had in my head, I'd really suit that, or I'd be right for that, or I'm going to do that. And not big commercial jobs, really specific shows that don't come around very often. Where I've gone, I think I'm going to do that, and then I've had an audition for that specific show. It's all a bit weird.
Like a sort of logic man, aren't you?
Yeah, well, I think it's just maybe a heightened awareness.
Yeah.
Or
I think if you are aware, you come across as very self-aware, then you kind of can imagine yourself, and then maybe there is a bit of a law of attraction in there, that you're putting it out there.
Yeah.
But you're so adamant in who you are, and you know where you're going and who you are as a person, that you just sort of put it out there, and it's much more strong.
Yeah, and I think that's the key as well, that you, if it doesn't come around, you don't then go into a pit of
doom.
You know, yeah, exactly. You go, okay, well, maybe it's not right now.
Yeah.
You know, and you kind of not let it go, but you just kind of forget about it. And that's what the Royal Academy was. I remember thinking, I'm going to go there, but I didn't, you know, stay up at night late, rocking in a corner, going, I will go to the Royal Academy of Music. It was just a thing where I thought, I think that will happen. Okay, moving on with my life.
Did you always have the calling then to be on stage? Was it?
Not always. It came. I think relatively it came quite late for me.
Yeah.
Because you see kids now who start at the age of 4 or 5 going to dance classes and things like that. It was never really on my radar. Looking back, I think I enjoyed going to the theatre, but I don't think it ever crossed my mind that I could do it.
Yeah.
And in fact, my sister was the one who did lots of creative stuff as a child. I wasn't really interested. I was more into football and things like that. And it's that classic thing of teachers. You have these teachers who kind of influence you, but you don't realise it at the time.
Yeah.
And I was going through a time at school where I wasn't that best behaved, let's say. I was going through a tricky time. Yeah, everyone goes through it, I think, where I was just questioning everything and also just
challenging.
Yeah, and just trying to be the cool kid and things like that, trying to be the funny man in school. And my teachers were getting a bit frustrated, I think. But drama was my opportunity to let that all out. Yeah. You know, and be quite kind of be creative in that way. And it was my drama teacher at the time who said, we need to channel this energy. I'm doing a production of this show. Okay. I'm putting you in it. And I said no at first. I said, no, I'm not interested in singing and acting and all that. And he said, no, you're doing it. 1, because we need boys, because you always need boys for shows. And 2, I think you'll be great. So it was down, I owe everything to him, really. Which is why I've made a point of keeping in touch with him, which I think is such an important thing to do.
Absolutely.
If you have those teachers that are, and I teach now as well, so it's kind of passing on that thing.
I think you're absolutely right, and I think teachers are super important, because my teacher, Bets Ann Williams, she was my media teacher, and I basically was so inspired by her that I became a media teacher just like her.
Wow. And then you remember them, don't you?
Yeah. I've still got her email now.
Yeah. And I think it's so important that you keep in touch with certain teachers in your life, because it's not just about the subject that they teach you everything, really. And one of my best memories now that I have is having that drama teacher come and see me in the show. Oh my God. Last year.
Did they give you a score? Were they like 9 out of 10?
He did give me some notes, actually, which I took. Yeah. But it's just a lovely thing, and it was just a lovely, and that was on in the same month that we did this, so it was almost like 10 years since. And
wow.
It was a lovely moment, just seeing him after the show and just going, look where I've come from, thanks to you I'm doing this. And it's just a lovely thing to say. It's thanks to you.
If I was that teacher, I'd have a little cry, I think.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's got plenty of students who have said that to him, but it's important that we do that, I think. That's a very long-winded answer to that question.
I don't even remember what the question was.
No, I know, sorry about that. It was something about being in a school show or something, but Okay,
I love it. So, We weren't always passionate about it, but it's something that happened to us. How is the life though? Because I think a lot of people think, oh, it's this glittery, fabulous life. But actually, I imagine it must be quite exhausting.
It is exhausting. I think it gets to a point where it becomes a job, and that's what I say when I teach now. Passion is absolutely important, but there is a crossover point where you go from training to do it, and that already is a huge investment, not only for the cost, but also in yourself, because I did the drama school route, and it really tests you. You know, they knock you down to build you. But it's that classic phrase: they knock you down to build you back up again, which is absolutely true. And it's important that they do that because, as an actor, you have to be able to access all these emotions and know that you can go to those places and things like that. But when you transition into the profession, you really have to accept that there is someone now paying you to do this.
But you've got to turn it out, haven't you?
Yeah, and putting on a show is a huge undertaking, not only in London, anywhere. You know, the cost of it is like anything. It's, you know, it's huge, and it's increasing more and more every year. So where you go from training to being told that you're going to be this and you have to be this, and you know, when you're in training, it's so self-centered, because it has to be. You have to be selfish when you're training. You have to be so, self-critical, and you have to be so self-involved. You have to be to see where your weaknesses are and strengths and things like that. So you go from that mindset to suddenly going out into profession where you're a tiny part of a huge machine. And that transition can be quite tricky. But again, that's where passion can help you, because if you believe that you're doing what you should be doing, then that will just...
I think this also relates to business. So quite a lot of people will start a business and they'll just assume that they'll be successful at it, but they don't realise they're a small new business in maybe a bigger pool of businesses. So actually, you've got to fight. And
there's always someone better than you.
Yeah, there is.
There's always someone more advanced. There's always someone who in our world, who can dance better, who can sing better, who can act better. But I think that's where training comes in, and also just knowing yourself and getting to know yourself as a person and what makes you different.
Your USP.
And embracing that. I think sometimes there's a danger that, particularly in my line of work, that people will adapt themselves to be something that they think the person casting you or the producer wants them to be. And I think that's the biggest failing, almost, because people can see through that. I think you can see through people who are putting on an act and who are just coming in and going, this is who I am, this is what I do. Any good? You
can just read like disingenuousness, can't you? Just there's something, you're like, this doesn't quite sit right with me, I don't feel okay about this, there's something about it.
Another teacher of mine at drama school once put it quite well, that he said, imagine yourself as an interior designer and you're going to someone's house and you've got this big kind of folder with you, and you're going, this is what my design is, this is what I could do with this is what I could do with this room, this is what I could do with that room, what do you think? And the owner could go, no, that's not my taste, or the owner could go, yes, that's exactly what I want, and that's it. It's as simple as that. And then another interior designer will come in and say, well, I can do this, 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 and this. And the owner says, yeah, that's what I want.
You're selling the dream.
What you're selling isn't bad, and you shouldn't manipulate it too much. And also be aware that someone can just go, no, that's not quite for me, thanks very much though.
I suppose this is part of rejection, isn't it? Because I think in this sort of industry, I imagine the amount of rejection that you get just really builds resilience. But if you are just 100% yourself, you can't really be too sad about it, because it just wasn't quite a right fit.
There's so much that is not in your control. There is so much that's not in your control that I think the key thing that I learned, and I didn't learn it straight away, was if you attach your self-worth to this job, you won't last very long.
Oh, that's so interesting.
It's very deep.
I love that.
But it's true, because, as I say, it's such a selfish job. You have to be so self-involved. You have to be selfish is maybe a bit of a harsh word to use, but you just have to be so aware of yourself and be willing to drop your life at any point and move to Asia or move to all these different places. I don't know why I said Asia. That's just what I did. But or Canada or America or wherever it may be, or go off on tour or go and do a panto or go. You just have to. You have to be willing to go, right, that's changing my life straight away. Which can be hard for a lot of people, particularly if they have commitments here and things like that. So, if you attach your whole life to the job, it's quite dangerous, I think, because if it doesn't go your way, friends of mine have had 2-3 years out of work, if not longer. I've had 1.5 years before of no work.
And then to try and get into that work, you have to then go through levels and levels of rejection.
To fight again.
But then, I suppose when you get the part,
there's. I remember when I was out of work and it was coming up to a year, and I was, you really start to
question it, like what's happening,
because it's hard to make a living out of it. I had one year where I only had 3 weeks work in the whole year.
Wow.
But I think there was a point where I said, okay, this is my job. This is what I love doing. I love it more than anything else. This is what I do. Yeah. But I need to have something else that's going on outside. And I think that's the key, it's great to be so passionate about something, and it encompasses your whole life. I love that, and I think it's so important, and this job particularly is great for that. But if you can have something else going alongside, or something else that you can put as much energy into, the pressure is suddenly off your shoulders.
It's interesting because this is exactly what it's like being self-employed. Because you set up a business, and the business is the theatre.
Yes.
And you put all your blood, sweat and tears
into
it. And you lose your friendships because you work all the hours you can. But the people who do the best at it have a side gig, like whether it's yoga or the gym or an activity or side stuff that they do that just gives them that away time.
It's just something else.
Yeah.
It's something else that isn't related, although mine is. But it just has a whole different energy to it. My main thing is I'm a musical theatre teacher now, which is something I really love. And it's, in a strange way, it's almost like teaching my younger self.
I love that.
Yeah, it's seeing young people who have so much passion about this subject, the same passion I have and had, because it changes as you get older. But it's remembering. It just reminds me of those years where I was so encompassed in the whole thing, and seeing their energy and seeing their passion for learning the subject. It's kind of infectious as well. So when I go and teach a full day, because I do this kind of schedule where I teach a whole day and then I go and do a show, and it can be a really long day, and my voice gets quite tired. But when I finish the day teaching, I have this kind of new energy taking me into the show, and it doesn't remind me why I do it, because I don't need that yet, but it just gives me another, it just makes me very aware that I'm so lucky to be able to teach and also do a show in the evening that they're wanting to do.
Young people are so full of hope and aspiration. There's something about working with young people that just really gets you going.
And then the second thing that I like to do is travel, because I think, one, I need to learn. As an actor, I need to learn about what it is to be a human being and learning about the human race and things like that. And the best way to do that is to travel, I think, and to meet very different people. But it's also to remind me that there is a world out there as well. And I think living in a capital city is an amazing thing, and I'm very lucky that I've lived here for over 10 years. But it can be a very lonely place to live as well. You can be, it's that ironic thing that you can be surrounded by so much going on and so many people, but you can feel so isolated. So travel, and it doesn't have to be a different country, it can just be, half an hour away. Just going to a different place just reminds you that, actually, there is other stuff going on, there is another world out there. Not everything is revolved around this one place.
So for me, I've got a question about this, because I think it's fascinating to spend a career playing other people. Is that a bit of like a mind melt?
I think it's, and I'm sure there'll be people online commenting about this, but I think it's the reason that we do it.
Okay.
I don't think you know that straight away. I think it's more, when you're younger, I think it's more about getting up and doing things in front of people and showing off, basically. Not in a bad way, I like doing this. I think the more you do it, I think, for me anyway, it's the interest of other people.
Okay.
And it's the interest of different psyches, and I think as well, it allows you to maybe show sides of your personality which you aren't comfortable showing in real life, let's say. That it gives you a kind of I'm trying to think of the right word, a kind of
like a bravado, or
well, not even that, just it gives you an environment where it's safe to do that. And something that directors and other actors talk about when you're rehearsing a show is about creating a safe space in the rehearsal room, in the theatre, wherever. And what they mean by that is literally that you can emotionally, physically kind of go to places that, you know, maybe in this situation would seem a bit odd, but you're in a safe space that there'll be no judgment, there'll be no people going, oh, that's a bit much, you know, whatever. You can really just
go there.
Try that. And I think playing a character just gives you that ability to do that, and it kind of breaks down those walls.
In fact, you sort of become more well-rounded because you're practicing all sorts of different types of people in a kind of way. Never thought about it like that.
I think it's to do with and just interest in other people and why people make certain choices. Whether it be in a fictitious state or whatever, it doesn't matter. It's learning about what it is to be human, really.
I love it. So, on that note, being human, do you have a specific quote that you find of interest or motivates you, or?
I don't know about quotes. I think it's all those kind of classic things of just, you know, never give up and things like that. It's really important for a job like this. You know, if you really love something, the grandeur goes. I think, you know. I think it's like when you're in a relationship or something like that. When you really love someone, you take all the faults and you don't even question them. You know, you just take it for what it is. And it's the same with this job. I would say probably any job that you really love, is that you just accept it. You accept the good with the bad, and there's nothing else you can do. And I remember watching, I can't remember who the actor was, but I remember watching a famous actor have an interview. And he said, there's nothing grand about it. There's no final prize. There's nothing at the end of the road, really. If you love it, you'll just do it. And there's nothing else you can do. And I think that's how I feel about this, is that there's nothing else I can do. This is just what I love. I'll do things alongside to keep the passion and keep the mind thinking. But this main thing, I can't do anything else. I just can't. I've invested too much now.
I love that. It actually makes me kind of emotional.
Good. It's an emotional job.
Such a good actor. I love it.
I think as well, people are kind of scared of showing how they really feel about this job. You know, because it can sometimes come across a bit theatrical or a bit. I'm trying to think of the right word.
Self-indulgent.
Self-indulgent. That's what I was looking for. And in some ways, people do it. It does come across like that. But I don't think it matters. I think if you really love something, then embrace it. You know. And I would also question, if you really love what you do you need to be vocal about it? You know. And this is an interesting subject at the moment within our industry about social media and things like that. Which I think it's only a good thing, to be honest with you. I think anything that keeps the theatre industry going, which is, you know, the arts is up against it at the moment with everything that's going on. I feel like you should fight for the arts, not necessarily fight for yourself, if that makes sense.
Yes.
I feel like if you really love something, you don't need to do that. Just fight for the community itself, rather than fighting for yourself. You fight for yourself through the job. If you do a good job, then you do more good jobs, and you do it that way. And you shouldn't need to have so many people saying, you know, how fabulous you are all the time.
Congratulation.
It's lovely. It's obviously a lovely thing, and obviously accept that. But I think if you go looking for it, I would question, why do you need to do that? Because if you really love this job, as I say, you'll take the good with the bad. Fight for the arts, fight for the community, absolutely, and fight for the job, because everything's up against it at the moment. But I think if you really know what you love and why you're doing it, that's all you'll need. You know,
absolutely.
It sounds a bit cliche, but again, it's that thing of, you know, I think some people wouldn't want to say that because they'll come across too, you know, emotional about it. But it's true, I think, you know.
I love it. It's an interesting perspective. I've not thought about it before. So, how can people find out more about you? How can they connect with you?
I'm on Twitter. At James P. Hume.
Hume?
Yes.
H-U-M-E?
H-U-M-E, yes.
Excellent.
I'm on Instagram as well. James Hume _ Thank you. That's the sign, not the word underscore.
Okay. It'll be a very long handle.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your contribution.
Pleasure. I hope it's been useful.
Very emotive stuff and very interesting stuff. And I think actually a lot of things that translate to business too.
Good.
So thank you very much.
Thank you very much.